Good morning, Happy New Year.
Good morning.
Our gifts to the Lottie Christmas offering into the cooperative program provide salaries and living expenses for missionaries, education for their children, language training and funds for their ministries, enabling them to work and live in global cities and extreme places. Our gifts help missionaries raise up and equip local believers to become effective leaders and church planners among their own people. Today we meet IMB missionary Layla Murphy in Southeast Asia. She could be in Vietnam or Thailand, Cambodia, Burma, Laos, Malaysia, or the Philippines. They're all in that area. They don't tell us exactly where. And as I tell you her story, you'll understand why. Layla was reaping a harvest as people were becoming more open to the gospel. Many Buddhists were being baptized. That sounds like maybe Thailand, but Layla said things were starting to progress. We were doing evangelism in places we had never gotten to before. It was really getting exciting, and then the bottom fell out of everything. I got kicked out of the country. Sounds like Satan at work, doesn't it? Yeah. It had been a long journey to that point. Layla was working in a country that had been isolated from the outside world for decades. That sounds like Vietnam to me. Military rule and ongoing conflict made her job even more challenging. But she managed to live there, working in public health and as an English teacher, all the while sharing the love of Jesus. When I was in college, God gave me a great love for the people of this country. It has that feeling of home, she said. She had setbacks. Immigration officers would shut down her English classes and force her to leave the city for months at a time. When she was allowed to return, she had to live in a hotel where the staff watched her comings and goings. Still, she found ways to share the gospel and deepen the relationships with a small band of believers and new converts. She tutored students, fearlessly shared the gospel truths, and began prayer walking every street in the city. Prayer walking is pre-evangelism, getting the ground ready for doing more work. One day, government officials swarmed into the lobby of her hotel and demanded that she leave the country and never return. In that one knee-shaking moment, what she had worked for seemed to unravel. I was completely shell-shocked, realizing that I was being kicked out. I had to leave the country that I love very, very much. She landed in an Asian urban center in a neighboring country, and she prayed. God's plans don't always make sense. It didn't make sense being kicked out of my old country. It didn't make sense staying in the new country, but that's exactly what God wanted. One day, Layla was walking through the vegetable market and heard a familiar sound, words spoken in the language of her beloved country. Soon she learned that hundreds of thousands of undocumented migrant workers and refugees from her country lived here. There was even an established church for the people group. The pastor asked her to consider staying there to teach and train new believers from the country she called home. On the first day of class for her new Bible school, she expected 15 students. 50 showed up. God put a hunger to learn His Word deep in the hearts of the people, and this was the first time they had had a chance to learn the Bible. She would rather be back in the country of her heart, but this has taught her to trust in God. Her students tease her that she's a refugee too, an American refugee. That binds our hearts together. Let's take a look at today's video.
I'm an overseas worker